Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. We've got an incredible lineup, tons of betting information coming your way. You know what time it is? It's betting time. Don't know why we're still doing this. Andy Lang joining us right off the top. He's going to look at the 49ers. Their game coming up next week, week 1 of NFL football. He's also got a bet for us on Scotty Scheffler. There's a big golf tournament going on this weekend with $100 million prize pool, and Scotty is kicking ass. Giani the Greek after that. He's got a couple of baseball bets, but I've already texted him telling him we're talking college football. And Bryan Power will end this show. Houston Astros team total, is it going over or under? And college football game, the Georgia State, Georgia Tech game. Also, just to clarify, Eddie Lang's NFL bet is a season prop bet. Teddy Covers is my co-host. What's your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. We're going to talk some NFL Week 1. Patriots and the Bengals, a line that's on the move. We'll talk about why in big game breakdown. Of course, and what bettors learned last night. We'll talk about the college football openers, some early thoughts on what we just saw. Lawrence?
Teddy, before we get into all of it, we all woke up today with some devastating news in the sports community. Johnny Gaudreau and his brother killed by a drunk driver on the road. Johnny Gaudreau was 31 years old. This happened at the weekend of his sister's wedding. From a parent perspective, I actually cried when I read the news. Vivian, my wife, was a complete mess over it as well. From a human perspective, what a terrible, brutal, horrific story. Unbelievable, man. To go from such highs of your daughter about to get married to such lows of losing both your sons all in the matter of hours. But we got to keep moving, Teddy. Anything to add quickly before we bring Andy Lang in?
Don't drive drunk.
To say the least. That guy's going to get in a lot of shit. Andy Lang joining us. What up, Andy?
Oh, just, brutal news this morning. But, on the positive front, clients are very happy. We hit our college football play last night, 32-9 in our last place since August 1st. So ripping and rolling, really excited. 10 straight winning weeks going into NFL season. Things couldn't be going better, but I am a little scared about being on such a hot streak before NFL season.
So funny you say that, because everybody who listens to the show knows that I've had a dreadful baseball season. It was a terrible June, terrible July, mediocre August. And all I keep saying was, man, the timing was spectacular. Way to slump when everyone is out water skiing and jet skiing. I'm pumped, dude, and I won last night in college football, so I get where you're coming from, and I'm feeling it from the other side. Let's get straight into this, the NFL bet that you want to talk about. The 49ers, will they score a touchdown in every game this season? You're going with yes at -165. Tell us why.
Yeah, this is a fun prop that I hadn't seen this market before, but I'm going absolutely yes when you kind of dive into the numbers here. So they scored a touchdown in every game last year, including all the playoff games. And in their 5 losses, their lowest point total was 17. So they're not just getting one touchdown, they're getting multiple touchdowns. You go back to 2022, they did this again. And even the games that Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo started for them, they got at least one touchdown. Last year, they even scored a touchdown in that brutal playoff game where Josh Johnson had to come in and play. They got one touchdown. They have scored a touchdown in every game Brock Purdy has started. They've hit this in, 4 straight years? And the only times they haven't scored a touchdown with Kyle Shanahan as his head coach was his first year when Nick Mullins was quarterback. So this is a team that just always seems to get into the end zone. Their offense is prolific. I like that they got Ayuk back. I just don't see a lot of holes in this offense. So minus 165 sounds like a lot. I dug into the numbers, and this sounds like a really, really good value for me. So I'm taking yes on the 49ers will score a touchdown in every game.
So my question on this is a prop market that I'm not familiar with. It's not one that I've seen before. Where'd you find this, and where do you bet it at?
You can find this on DraftKings and on FanDuel. And I'm with you, Teddy. I haven't seen this before this year either. I was diving in and trying to find some more obscure props. We always have the over/under wins and the player stats, but this is one that if it's been out in years past, I haven't seen it. The Baltimore Ravens is a good one in this category as well. I found it a lot of fun researching some of these teams. It's an interesting prop, but right now you can play this on DraftKings and FanDuel.
Andy Lang, everyone. And as Andy mentioned at the top of his segment, 10 straight winning weeks. He's on a 13-4 MMA run. He's up 148 units of profit this entire calendar year. And am I right? You have a 5% UFC play going?
Yeah, so UFC is off for this week, but next week on September 7th, nice card, really bettable. There's a 5% play that's up now. Lock it in ASAP. These lines start moving the closer we get to the fight. So make sure you get I know it's college football weekend. I know the baseball's still going on. I know it's a week out. Get the 5% play. We've hit our last 4 5% plays. The dog days of summer has just been absolutely incredible for us, and we do not want to slow down. So get this 5% play, lock it in ASAP, and you will absolutely get the best of this number.
There we go. Andy Lang, exclusive handicapper at WagerTalk.com. Andy, let's turn our attention to the PGA. And while Scotty put on a performance yesterday, shot a 65, 7 ahead of the pack. This is his year. It might be his decade. He's putting up just a historical run and almost impossible to beat. But you're not betting him to beat anybody but himself. So, which is probably the only competition he has right now anyway. Fill us in on what bet you have for us.
Yeah, we've done really good on these individual round scores. I've been doing these with you guys for a while on Friday. So we're going to take Scotty Scheffler to shoot under 67.5. That means he needs to shoot -4 or better. And here was the key. I did not play anything on this tournament yesterday. The reason is they completely renovated this course last year. Literally, the bulldozers and equipment were off to the side of the course as they were finishing the final round of the Tour Championship last year. They got done with the tournament. They came in and redid everything. So I wanted to see what round one looked like because the grass on the greens were different. I wanted to see how it would affect the putting. Well, what did Scotty Scheffler do? Putting, well, he was plus 1.4 strokes, third best putting in the field. So check that box. How is his driving accuracy? Tied for 5th. Hit 71% of his fairways. Check that box. Driving distance, 2nd. Check that box. Approach to the green, top 10, plus 1.1 strokes 8 putting. He did everything that he was supposed to do. And my favorite thing about his round yesterday was he bogeyed the first hole. And instead of getting all out of sorts and getting mad, he shoots -7 for the rest of the round. The weather is perfect. He's got a 7-shot lead on the field. He's going to go out on cruise control. There really isn't a whole lot of pressure with nobody right down his throat, which is just what he loves. He loves being out in front. He's going to be cool, calm, collected. I expect him to shoot -5, -6 again today. So wouldn't surprise me if he had such a sizable lead that he cruises to a pretty easy Tour Championship win.
So here's the question on this one. Who the hell's betting the over? What kind of juice are you laying on the 67.5? Because I can't imagine the wise guys are playing it over. I can't imagine when the public's playing it over. This feels like a pretty heavy juice prop. Is it? What are we looking at right now?
-125. That's it. The counter that I would say is,
yeah.
Well, he's up 7 shots. Oh yeah, like he's up 7 shots. Why would he take any chances? But this isn't a course that you need to take chances on. This is hit the ball in the fairway, hit it on the green, and make some putts. This is not, the weather isn't crazy. So it's not like, there's rain and wind and the round could go completely sideways. That's really the only counterpoint I have is he
But Andy, Andy, I think that's a fair counterpoint. I mean, let's take into account the fact that he only shot 65 yesterday. Now I say only. I dream of such numbers, but 65 is 3 less than 68. Yes, I'm a mathematician. And he needed to put his foot down yesterday. He needed to come out there and he needed to put up a big score. As a terrible golfer, I can tell you that in order to put up a big score, you do have to go for it. You do have to risk shots, just outside of a particular club length, et cetera, et cetera. He on one hand, he's not going to feel the pressure, which will help his swing. On the other hand, I think he's not going to go for it. Like, maybe there's spots where he lays up instead of, goes over the water. I don't know this course, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But
which is what Andy was just talking about, how this course sets up.
Oh, Teddy, don't be angry today. Don't be angry today.
To what the guest
I
said.
was about to say.
He just
I'm asking you not to get angry today.
Everything you were talking
don't be
about.
A dick. Don't be a dick.
Help it, Lawrence.
Okay? Just don't be a dick today. Seriously.
Okay, get mad.
And maybe you should have let me finish.
Okay, finish.
Stop it, Teddy. Just don't be a dick. Seriously.
All right. So here's the thing. Scotty Scheffler is not the layup type of guy. He's not the conservative type of player. He plays the same regardless of the lead. So maybe one time he might be in a situation where he hacks it out of the rough, but this is not difficult rough to hit out of. You can avoid the water, and even if he misses a green, he's one of the best short game around the green players on tour. It's tough to see how he struggles today. My one worry coming into it was the putting on the new greens, and he passed it with flying colors. So the counterpoint is, does he play conservative? I just haven't seen it in his repertoire to play conservative.
Andy, I'm with you, dude.
Yeah, he's come into this tournament with the lead several years. He's not closed the deal one time, and it's set up on a silver platter for him. This is go time. This is really put your foot on their throats and let the field know, no, this is my year. I'm going to win it.
Andy, listen, I'm with you. All I was trying to do was say there is a counter argument. It is wrong, and I believe he will break 67.5, but there's a reason that line is there, and I guarantee you that books are taking action on both sides of that line. Andy, you've promoted kick ass. I wish you all the best with your 5% UFC play. I have no doubt you'll win. Amazing run all the way through this calendar year. Congratulations. Andy Lang, everybody. Teddy still lecturing me in Slack. Whatever. Teddy, what did bettors learn last night?
Just because you yell and give me a scary stare, and it doesn't mean that what I said was inappropriate. All that being said, let's talk about what happened last night in college football action. And I'm going to start with all those FCS versus FBS games. And I'm telling you flat out, I take nothing away from those games. I do not adjust my power ratings even a point, not 1 point, for FBS versus FCS results. We have no idea how the FCS teams are approaching the game. I did not spend a lot of time researching North Dakota State or Western Carolina, two teams that came to win. I didn't spend a lot of time researching Murray State or New Hampshire or Arkansas, Pine Bluff, teams that came for paychecks. It doesn't mean anything about NC State or Colorado or Missouri or Arkansas or UCF, the teams that beat their opponents. I don't mean even less about those teams when it comes to later season FBS versus FCS games. But the bottom line for me is that, remember, compared to, say, USC, LSU on Sunday or Texas A&M, Notre Dame on Saturday night, it takes very little money to move an extra board point spread, even less for an extra board total. And for the vast majority of those games, again, there's no reason to adjust anything or change any preseason opinion that you had about those teams. So 2 regular board games last night. First, I hate rain delays, dude. I hate them most, I think, in college football. Baseball's already had rain delay, always had rain delays. College football hasn't. Kills the crowd, kills the pregame buzz. Certainly didn't help Minnesota in that ballgame. North Carolina lose their quarterback to injury, but huge nuance there. And pay attention to this week 1 in college football, week 2 in college football. When you have a neck-and-neck competition throughout fall camp and one guy wins the job and then he gets hurt, it's a huge difference. The backup is prepared, in theory, compared to an established starter who got all the reps in August. That was the case for North Carolina last night. Starter got hurt, backup came in. And, week one, more than a handful of games are decided by special teams. Makes, misses, mistakes. That was one of them. Can't trust college kickers. PJ Fleck should know that. His kicker had already missed one, despite the fact that he is an NFL prospect. And then, of course, Jacksonville State, Coastal Carolina. This is what I saw in that game. Jacksonville State, Rich Rod year one, he won 9 games. Last year, he won 9 games. This year, where they were chalked for the game and down 31-3 before halftime. Couldn't stop the run, burned repeatedly by the pass. What are we watching? CUSA defenses. Find a good Conference USA defense, and you make money every year. Coastal Carolina, impressive on the defensive side of the football last night. That's what I learned, Lawrence. Back to you, my friend.
Oh, bugger off. Teddy, I had the under in the Minnesota-North Carolina game. Really
Right
went well. Lots, and right side right from the beginning. How did you do?
I went 0-0 in college football last night.
You got
I'll
one
go
going
0-0
tonight?
again tonight. 0-0 again tonight.
Okay.
We'll be in action
I got one play up for college football tonight, guys. And as I told you yesterday, I'm going on a monster. I am going on a massive freaking run. I also have a 4% up in college football tomorrow. My first 4% play in 3 months. I'm on a 20-6 run in those. So please grab my college football. Ignore my baseball. Giani the Greek. Gianni, so much to talk to you about, brother. Hopefully you're not muted. We're going to discuss some college football. We're going to discuss your 2 baseball games. But first, my question to you is, what future bets in the NFL have you got down?
All right. So far with futures, not too much in the NFL. We bet the Dallas Cowboys under. I remember that immediately was what we got down on, under 10.5. As far as other futures, that's pretty much it for the NFL. Most of them were in college football this year, and that's kind of been the course, at least over the last couple seasons. Like, we just haven't been tying up a lot of money in futures, in season win totals like we used to. Before, they were betting just so many college football win totals, NFL win totals, and it's just less and less and less each season. And I think a lot of that has to do with the availability of lines that are out there. So they work a lot of middles, a lot of scalps. So they could make so much money with zero risk that there's a lot less legit moves. So I'm being very, very careful with futures because you're tying up your money for such a long time that, again, I could tell my subscriber, put your money in Coinbase and they're going to get 5.5% just for putting it in USDC. If I'm going to turn a profit for them holding their money for 6 months, then I better have a really strong play, or else I may as well just tell them, put that money in USDC. Don't bet it on my play. You're going to tie it up for 6 months. I can't guarantee you're going to win. So we've been a lot more selective. I think that's why, making a long story short, I could give you Dallas. Let me give you some week 1 NFL, because those lines, I gave you Minnesota when I was on last time. Yes. I gave you the Chargers -3. And the only other NFL play we bet so far was the over 43 in Tennessee and Chicago in week 1. So we got 3 week 1 plays already and the under 10.5 in the Cowboys season win total. And that was it for season win totals.
And when it comes to 10.5 for Dallas, I mean, that's not available anymore, is it?
I don't think so. We bet that, Teddy. I think I probably sent that one out like July 23rd, now that I look up on the WagerTalk board. So yeah, that's not available no more. And like I always tell my subscribers, if the bet's not available, the answer to what you do is simple. You do nothing, because the bet's no longer there for you. You can no longer place the bet I placed. So now it's on you, on your own risk tolerance. Do you want to bet it at a worse number? Do you still like it? Do you think there's still EV there? Go ahead and bet it. I stopped betting it at under 10.5. That's where if I thought under 10 still had value, I'd be firing away at under 10, at under 9.5. I'd keep betting it. But, I've done this long enough, and you have too, to know that your edges are very small when it comes to sports betting. So anytime lines move significantly against you, you got to step back and pass and say, I'm no longer getting the best of it. I'm hoping to be the product of the good luck. And again, that's not going to win you money long term. So if I'm not getting a number, I just don't bet it. And I think anyone out there that agrees with the under Dallas, if you like it, what the number is now, you bet it. I could tell you what we got down at and where we thought the right, a good bet was. So again, there's so much weeks coming, so much action coming. I don't think anyone out there should ever take a bad number. No one should ever make pizza bets, that nonsense, whatever that nonsense even means. Make a bet just to have action. All that stuff. Wipe that off your slate because the edges are very small. If either bet for entertainment or bet for profit, decide early on what you're going to do. And that way, you'll never be disappointed. I bet for profit. So for me, I just don't bet bad numbers. If 10.5 ain't there anymore, I just don't bet it. Like today, I got 5 baseball games I couldn't bet because the Lions move. I'm not going to take a bad number for these guys. I'm not going to eat that half a point. No way.
Gianni joining us, everyone. Another exclusive handicapper at Wager Talk. Guys in the chat room, thanks for being here. If you don't mind taking a second out of your day and hitting that like button, it would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, only 100, 160 of you guys are watching live, 34 likes. That's nowhere near enough. It takes literally a second to hit that like button. Also, we're now at 166,000 subscribers. So thank you for the 1,000 that just recently joined us. Let's get to 170 by next week. Gianni, so Teddy is going to ask you some follow-up questions along the way. And we now have a new graphic that we're going to pull out. Anytime Teddy annoys you or anything, just let Dan know and he will throw this up.
Never annoy.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to use that graphic on a regular basis. That is for sure. Okay, brother, you got 2 baseball plays you want to discuss. Then we're going to go down the college football board. The first one is on Oakland and Texas. How do we bet this game?
You want it? We just bet LA Angels plus 1.5, just throwing it out there at even money up to 105. That's what they're taking. It just came through the bot. So follow fade, ignore just sharing that. Oakland, Texas under. Bottom line, they've been under teams this season, a little heavier under than the over. So lower scoring teams, at least against the betting market. But if you look at the last series between the two, 3 of the last 4 went over. So there's a little recency bias there. And more importantly, I'm taking advantage of the recency bias on the pitching, mostly on the Sears side. He's coming off a game where he allowed 7 earned runs. But dig a little deeper and you'll find over his last 5, he's actually been pitching lights out with a 2.7 ERA. And on the flip side, you look at Gray. He's coming off a horrific game as well, where he lasted 2 innings and gave up 7 runs. I get it. Gray's not going to win any Cy Young award anytime soon, but you still 7 runs in 2 innings. You expect to progress a little towards the mean because you shouldn't really be that bad. So we got a little recency bias with the pitching, got a little bit as far as the series goes, and even with these teams. With KC, 7 of the last 10 going over. Houston, 3 of the last 5 going over. You know me, I like to take advantage of that recency bias because that is what more times than not guarantees me that at least line value-wise, I'm getting the best of it based on them being forced to shade the line towards those biases. I mean, we all know if a team keeps covering or a fighter keeps knocking guys out in the first round, you're probably not going to get them at a discount after that 3rd knockout, after that 5th or 6th cover in a row. Doesn't mean they're going to lose, but more times than not, you're not getting the best of it. So I've done that, talked about that a lot on this segment, and it served me well long term. It puts you a little bit contrarian, but it does make sense.
So let me ask you a question there, Gianni, because I tend to look particularly with MLB totals more than anything else. I feel like there's absolutely correlation between what happened one day and what happens the next day. Hot lineups stay hot until proven otherwise. Bad bullpens stay bad until proven otherwise. Overworked bullpens one day, if they're overworked again the next day, they'll be overworked again the 3rd day. So I tend to ride these MLB total streaks. You're talking about saying after a couple of overs or a couple of unders, the value's the other way. So there's a little disagreement between you and I. Explain your side of the equation. Because I believe there's absolutely correlation only for MLB totals, not for any other sport. But in MLB, the bullpen yesterday affects the bullpen today. The lineup yesterday affects the lineup today. And there's correlation between, runs of unders and runs of overs string together. You're saying tap the brakes on that.
Yeah, I agree, Teddy. As far as momentum goes, you're going to make more money riding a lot of momentum and riding streaks. Because again, if you're betting against a streak, you could cash one ticket. You ride a streak, you could ride 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row. The most you're going to cash again, betting against it is that one, or you're going to keep losing until you finally win, which isn't a good position to be in. So I understand the momentum side, but I also believe that the market's pretty efficient. It's gotten more and more efficient. And because of that, I think when we see the obvious, I think the market adjusts. So yeah, the bullpen's bad. We all acknowledge they're bad. We all know they're getting lit up, but the market is created to adjust for that. Meaning they're supposed to move higher. The total should be higher. It should. You shouldn't be able to just do that. Which is like if you take a step back and look over the last 5,000 NFL games, I think you're going to get pretty close to 2,500 overs, 2,500 unders, 2,500 favorites, 2,500 dogs. Yeah. That's just because the market's efficient. It does in the short term, that's not going to happen, but in the long term, that's going to happen. So as far as fading momentum in the short term, I understand it may not be as advantageous because again, you could ride a streak for a couple games, but I look at it more of a big sample size perspective. In thinking that if they're flying high, like in this small little slot over this bigger sample size, it should even out. You know what I mean? If they're covering 75% of their games over this side, they're not going to cover 75% of their games over this many. It's going to start to work the other way. And I just feel with totals, it should do the same. Now, if you have the data to show I'm wrong, it could be, I could be way off. But I've just played contrarian with most sports and, it's done okay.
Giani the Greek, everyone. Gianni, under 8 in Houston, Kansas City. Tell us why quick. And then we got to run down the college football card.
Well, again, we have a situation where I like the pitching. I like Lugo's gotten lit up in his last 3, but you look over his season, he's been lights out with a 3.1 ERA. You look at Valdez, he's been lights out his last 3, which helps my under. But the teams coming into this series have been over. 2 of the 3, that series was earlier in the year, but 2 of the 3 did go over. You come into this one, Houston's gone over 3 of their last 5, KC's gone over 7 of their last 10, and I think that is factored into this series' line, like we were talking about before with Teddy. If a team's going over, I'm thinking that the market should adjust for that, and the total should be higher than it should. Like this one should probably be 7, 7.5, but they're forced to put up an 8, 8.5 because of how they're running recency. Teddy seems to think that other times that's not the case. They don't adjust quick enough. And he's done well. So obviously he finds those times that haven't been adjusted quick enough either. So we're just going under 8.5 Oakland, Texas, under 8 Houston, KC. And I got a lot of baseball in there today. I actually had 3-4% plays, which is really rare, especially for this late in the season. I thought that would come during playoff times, but some good positions today that we took some big sides on.
Real quick, Gianni, before we get to college football, I want to ask you, I'm seeing, looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, we're 8 juice to the under, 8 minus 20 or 7.5 over minus 20. Would you bet it at 7.5? Would you lay the extra juice at 8? Talk about how you play that at the current numbers for those of you
I'm going to tell you right now,
fading and following.
If you got under 8 minus 123 or under 7.5 at, let's say, minus 105, I don't remember what you said the current line is right now, but an under 8 at minus 123 comes out to a 7.5. Under 8 minus 123, you should get 7.5 minus 105 or better. If you get 7.5 minus 105 or better, it's like getting the 8 at 125, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure.
7.5 juice to the over now.
It's juice to the over, so you could get the under at minus 105 or better. It's the better play to bet than laying the 25 if it's 25 or greater for the 8. So yeah, great question. Because a lot of times you're better off not laying that extra juice and taking the 7.5. When it lands on 8, you're going to get pissed off. But trust me, long term, if you're going to bet tomorrow, next week, next month, it's the right thing to do. If you're only betting this game and never betting again, then lay the extra juice and take the 8 because you just care about cashing this ticket and that's all that matters. But if you're going to bet tomorrow, next week, next month,
great point.
Take the 7.5.
Great freaking point, Gianni. Okay, dude, we're up against the clock. Put on a timer, 60 seconds, go.
60 seconds college football tonight. They laid Duke minus 24, went to 25.5, but I saw some take back the other way. It wasn't our group, but somebody out there is taking the dog. We took Lehigh plus 31 and also went over 55 in Maine. Some of the better games on screen went under 58 Temple, Oklahoma, and we went Western Michigan and Wisconsin over 13. Laid the juice to go over 13 in the first quarter. Saturday, real quickly, we got over, these are some new ones that just came in, over 54.5 Kent State, Pittsburgh. What else did I give you that just came in that I didn't give out on bet on it? Oh, UNLV Houston, 193.94. We went over 54, over 54.5, and over 55 there. And I think I already gave you Wyoming. We bet Wyoming again. So they really like this Wyoming against Arizona State. They laid juice to get the 7 earlier. Before anyone was even talking college football, and they've been taking Wyoming. Anytime a 7 pops up, they want the 7 on Wyoming. They also like the over in that game. Anything over 48, they'll still take some more money on it, which bodes well. That's pretty much it. Oh, perfect. Minute. You got a lot of gold there. A lot of gold.
Yeah, dude. It's always gold when you come on. What do you got to promote?
I love you guys. I'm going to be in the steam room tomorrow, Saturday. I want to be there for the first day of college football. I got a lot of college football action. Again, I'm not going to push anybody to buy anything, but the bottom line is we crushed the college sports, finished #1 in profit last year in college football. Nothing's going to change this year. So if you want to ride on board, get on over to WagerTalk, jump on the college football and NFL. And, of course, Major League Baseball playoffs are coming up, and I don't even have to talk about MMA. You know how that goes for us week in and week out. So God bless. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Prez, for having me on. And, again, I hope everybody does well. Don't get too crazy. It's only week 1. We got 20-plus weeks ahead. No reason to try to get out too far ahead or fall behind. Just grind, baby. There's going to be games coming all the time. Don't bet bad numbers. Don't tease college football. You'll do just fine.
Wow. Okay, then. Giani the Greek, Bryan Power still to come. Teddy, it's your big game breakdown. And remember, brother, Dan. Go ahead, Teddy.
I'm ready. I'm ready to give you the don't be. And Lawrence, to be perfectly honest, you were the bigger dick in that instance than I was. So.
Oh, yeah, we'll go with that, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, I might have a bigger dick, but I definitely
go back.
All I am is nice to you. All I am is nice to you. I end yesterday's show talking about how great your NFL is. If I were to buy one package only, it would be you. I am kind to you. I am sweet to you. You are out of your freaking mind. You are like, I would say, a female today. That's how out of your mind you are. Okay. Go ahead.
Go back and look at the tape. In the meantime, let's talk about the Patriots and the Bengals. Big game breakdown. And look, let me make this really clear. I don't know that I've seen a stronger under team in recent memory than what this year's New England Patriots look like on paper. All right. This team defines an underball club. All right. Patriots defense should be pretty good. It might be really good. All right. Loads of talent. They have a pass rush, even after trading Judon. They have a secondary that, to me, is loaded with playmakers. I don't see New England giving up points in bunches against anyone. Offensively, New England is as bad as it gets. All right. Especially with Brissett at QB. We talked last year a lot. Hey, Andy Dalton's playing. That's the over QB in Cleveland. All right. Brissett's the under QB. He's going to dink and dunk. He's not going to take shots downfield. He's not going to make a whole lot of plays. The Patriots, to say they lack playmakers, isn't strong enough. There's not a guy on the team who's going to create a quick strike touchdown. Not one guy offensively. You can say, yeah, get this guy the ball in space. He'll make somebody miss. Patriots don't have anybody like that. They really don't. And that's a huge concern in the modern NFL. And it doesn't bode well for their offense. So we have a bad offense, first-year head coach, new offense, a quarterback who's not making plays downfield, and a complete lack of playmaker. Remember, Brissett started all 3 of the Patriots preseason games. He had 27 snaps. He went 5 for 14 for 36 yards, no touchdowns, and the pick he threw I saw was ugly. All right? Patriots aren't scoring points in bunches. All right? Neither are the Bengals. All right. This is not a week one offense in the Zach Taylor era. All right. Still don't know yet if their full receiving core is going to play. It doesn't look like they're going to be the case. Since they've been held to 24 points or less in regulation, each of their 5 week ones in the Zach Taylor era, they've averaged less than 17 points per game in these contests. So, yeah, this game has all the makings of slow, sluggish. We're not seeing a whole lot of over money coming for week one NFL. Only a handful of games we've seen over money. This is one we've seen under money. I gave it out over the summer on this show. I gave it to my clients, and now you get it here now. Patriots, Bengals, under the total on opening Sunday of the NFL. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers, to quote Danny Yu, he writes, I get it, Prez. I hate when people try to finish my thoughts and interrupt me, and they're totally wrong. So Dan and I did go back through the tape while you spoke. Brian Power joined us as well. The three of us went over the tape. And this is literally how it went. Not that anyone cares, but I just want to get this out there quick. You ask why, if people would bet, you ask, well, would people bet the over? And I said, here's the argument why. Then I'm kindly, happily giving you my argument why. You interrupted me with your angry face, with your tone problem.
Okay, no.
And then you screamed at me.
You get carte blanche here to just make stuff up. You didn't look at the tape. That is not what I asked a follow-up question, not to you, Lawrence, but to our guest.
Yeah.
And after our guest finished talking, you decided, I got an opinion. But
Teddy,
you wanted to debate.
You're wrong. Hey, Brian.
It's not about debating. It's asking a follow-up, and then the guest gets a chance to shine. Like Brian Power does right now. Brian,
I think we're all right. I'm worried. I'm actually worried myself because it's going to be a little awkward because I'm talking about that Astros game as well, and I've got a bit of a different slant. So who knows? But we can all be right still because the way I'm playing this game is a little bit. I'm just focusing on one team. So who knows? Maybe we can all disagree and yet be right at the same time.
Bro.
What a great way to go in the weekend that would be.
We have moved on. Teddy is wrong. I am right. You're very awesome. Let's go. Astros team total over 4.5 against the Kansas City Royals. You expect a outburst of batting from Houston. Tell us why.
Yeah, so I played last night's game. It was a 3% play for clients. Cashed the Astros first 5 on the run line. It was kind of a sweat, but they scored 2 in the bottom of the 5th to get it done there. And for a little bit, it looked like I got out at the right time, right? Because Kansas City, they answer back with 3 runs of their own in the top of the 7th. But then Houston did score 4 times in the bottom of the 8th. They get the 6-3 win. I thought long and hard, guys, about taking the Astros' first 5 run line again today. I think starter Framber Valdez, and this is where I would agree possibly on taking the game under. Valdez matches up well, I think, against the Royals lineup. The Royals lineup, I think people have been talking about this all year on the various shows. I know I have. Kansas City's offensive numbers just dip dramatically on the road, whether you're talking about runs, batting average, walk rate especially. The market really seems to agree that Houston's the right side here. They've taken money all morning long. But I think the best way to attack this, guys, is playing Houston over its team total of 4.5. I'm surprised this is available plus money. At least it was before the show started. Astros average 4.7 runs per game at home for the year. And today they're going against Seth Lugo. This is, I think, the concern if you're betting the under. Lugo did have a great start to the year, but he was overperforming. I told everyone that he was going to regress, and that's exactly what's happened. 5.30 ERA his last 9 starts. Gave up a career-high 11 hits last time out. That was an 11-3 loss to the Phillies, I believe, on Sunday. And history says Houston's not a great opponent for Lugo, Teddy. 3 previous starts against him, 7.04 ERA. On top of that, this is key. I was at the ballpark here, Progressive Field, on Wednesday when the Royals blew a lead. They gave up 4 runs. I mentioned they gave up 4 runs against last night. This Royals bullpen stinks. Bottom 5 ERA for the year. Just lost one of their high leverage arms too last night to an injury, Urseg. So I like Houston to put up a crooked number tonight. Maybe it's a 6-0 win and we all go home happy.
Yeah, even 5-0 gets the job done for the Astros at over 4.5. I want to ask you this question because you brought up something and I started looking back and I'm like, that's not current form at all. You talked about KC's offensive numbers on the highway. And I just went back and looked at their last 4 road trips. Their last 4 road trips have gone over that number by a wide margin. At this stage of the season, we're talking about late August. The late season numbers mean anything in baseball? I mean, the full season numbers mean anything, or is it all current form right now? Because certainly if you look at the full season numbers for KC Road versus their last 4 road trips, you're going to get a very different story about what that offense is capable of doing.
Yeah, I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Teddy, that I was at the ballpark for the Royals game on Wednesday when they lost to the Guardians. That's a ballpark that's played to the over. I wasn't surprised that they scored runs in that series. Progressive Field this year, they take the shipping containers out in the outfield, the ball's traveling. They had a lot of home runs in that series that would not be home runs in most ballparks. They were landing in the front row in right field. I'm telling you right now, the full season numbers do mean a lot to me, and especially when the splits are as dramatic, home versus road, when we're talking Kansas City. At home, Kansas City and Cleveland, just to make a quick comparison, they're very similar teams. They're both kind of bet-on teams at home, but I like fading them both on the road. Houston, to me, is just a much better team than Kansas City. We could get this as a first-round matchup, oh, by the way, in the American League playoffs. I just think at that plus price, I think that's what's the best move to chase here. Instead of, obviously you'd have to lay a lot of juice to play the Astros for the game. I feel the Astros are the right side, and they will outscore Kansas City in this one and get over that 4.5.
Bryan Power joining us. Bryan, are you pretty pumped about college football this weekend? How's it gone so far?
I am. It's always nice to start a season with a winner, and I had one last night in the under, North Carolina, Minnesota. Prez, you and I have a shared pessimism, I think, about down the stretch of games. I was really nervous. Whenever I bet an under in college football, I start tapping my feet and saying, please no overtime, please no overtime. Just don't give me overtime. Once we got to 16-14, I thought I knew we were in good shape.
Oh, I'm still working
it was a good call.
Dude, I'm still working out 16-14. I'm like, okay, if they score, then they miss the extra point, then the other team scores and gets the extra and gets a 2. Yeah, I am with you 100%.
And it never should have been close. If it wasn't for the turnovers, it wouldn't even have been close.
Yeah.
The under was the absolute dead-on right call in that game. PJ Fleck's in trouble in Minnesota, by the way. Yeah.
Start to finish. Although he does dress well. Totally different topic. Georgia Tech last week, Bryan. This is a team that looked great and really looked great in the positions that they were not supposed to look great in, i.e. their line. They really dominated the line of scrimmage last week, and now they're playing a bad Georgia State team. They got a game under their belt. They're minus 20.5. How are we betting this one?
Yeah, this is all about situational handicapping here. I think that, the line at one point touched as high as plus 22, I believe, earlier in the week. Books had to adjust in the wake of that upset win you just touched on, Prez, with Georgia Tech beating Florida State in Dublin. But I'm still not overly concerned that we're getting a worse number now. Again, it's all about the situation. Massive letdown spot for the Yellow Jackets. They fly home from Dublin. I talked about this on the morning wager last week. Georgia Tech is now 5-0 ATS against ranked ACC opponents under Brent Key. But they were underdogs in all 5 of those wins. As favorites, last 5 seasons, this program is 2-13-1 against the spread. Now, I know, Teddy, a lot of that was before Key got here. He's a big upgrade on the sidelines over Jeff Collins. But look at last year. I think we all remember that insane finish where Georgia Tech stole the game against Miami, where Mario Cristobal lost his mind and didn't know how to manage the clock. What happened the following week when Georgia Tech was laying points to Boston College? They lost outright. This game against Georgia State, let's talk more about the situation. Smack dab in the middle of an ACC sandwich. They're off the upset win over Florida State last week. Georgia Tech goes to Syracuse next week. And Georgia State, guys, is going to be up for this game. They don't have to travel far. Oh, by the way, 5 miles. So they should have support in the stands for this one. And you mentioned Georgia Tech having the game under their belt, Prez. A lot of people think, oh, that might be an advantage. It's actually the opposite. Check this out. Since 2005, excluding games when FCS teams are involved, teams playing their first game of the season have cashed 64% of the time when facing an opponent that played in week 0. Georgia State qualifies this week. Again, they've had all off season to get up for a city rival. Georgia Tech, it's a flat spot. I know there's a lot of turnover with this Georgia State team, new coach, but there's one other thing to consider. Only 7 possessions each in last week's game between Florida State and Georgia Tech. Guys, I don't think Georgia State's or Georgia Tech, pardon me, is built to win by margin, Teddy. The only time they've been favored this many under Key was last year against Bowling Green. They lost that game outright. They'll win here, but closer than the odds makers think. Give me the points.
So conceptually, I love the concept of here, this team was a good underdog. It doesn't mean necessarily they're a good favorite. And that's something that a lot of beginning bettors struggle with early on in the college football season. But my question for you about Georgia State is very simple. You have a first-time head coach. Are they good enough? Because Georgia Tech, sure, the spot's not a Georgia Tech spot, but it doesn't matter if Georgia State can't battle with them at the line of scrimmage. Can they?
Yeah, I mean, here's one thing I was thinking about too. If the number dropping scares you a little bit, I think we're going to know in the first half. In terms of a game script, I don't see a situation where Georgia Tech gets out big and then Georgia State sneaks in through the back door. So I would say if you have some concerns, maybe just play the first half. But I don't know. I think to me, it's just all about the situation. You cover the team's names up. I've had a lot of success doing that, sort of just playing the situation. I think this situation screams you have to play the underdog. I'm waiting for 21. If it gets back to 21, Georgia State will be a client release.
Bryan Power, awesome stuff, dude. What do you got going for the clients?
Yeah, so we're a perfect 5-0 over the last 3 days, 7-1-1 overall the last 6 days, and we've got a 5% play in Major League Baseball tonight. Guys, this is just my 6th 5% play in Major League Baseball this season. We're very selective with those. We're 4-1 so far this year. We're very happy with how 5% plays do in every sport with the selective approach. So head on over to my page right now. I've also got my top soccer play for the weekend up, my top college football play for the weekend up. And don't forget, while you're here on YouTube, to check out the Power 5 and the Morning Wager, the 2 shows I do each and every day.
There we go. Bryan Power, get the hell out of here, brother. Teddy, before we end the show, Benny8, one of our listeners, writes, I think this was my favorite episode ever due to the ongoing argument. It was not my favorite episode at all. He suggests that we make a poll and let the people decide who was right and who was wrong and who was the dick. I don't think we're going to make a poll, Benny, but please feel free to put up in the comments how wrong Teddy was and what a dick he was to me. I'm totally good with that. If you think the other way, don't comment at all. And then on Monday, we can add all the comments up. With all that said, I enjoy doing these shows. Teddy obviously does get under my skin, but I get under his too. And we're like a married couple, although I am totally not attracted to him. With that said, Teddy, I have some breaking news. We've discussed the fact that I've had a shitty baseball season, and I had a client buy a Euro package just before baseball. And that client, correctly so, as of about 3 minutes ago, moved from my plays. So he will no longer be getting any of my plays. He has moved to another handicapper, and I understand. His name is Bryan. Bryan, I understand. I get it. It was a shitty 3 months of baseball. With that said, I was like dominant in NBA, dominant in college basketball. I killed it in the NHL regular season. I had a good NFL season, a good college football season. So with all that said, and then I will end, sorry, Teddy, if it's ever the time to play me, it's when a guy who has a Euro subscription moves away from me. We've been through this before. Thank you, Bryan. I appreciate you. I love you, Teddy. Take us home.
Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll be back again with another edition of WagerTalk Today on Labor Day, Monday. We'll be here. Come join us.